Somebody should have told you. Yeah. Somebody should have told you. Yeah.
Why did you have to go and leave me all alone? All on my own now, I'm alone, but it's not that fine. It really, really bothers me, it's not that fine. I just wanna go home to you and don't get mad. I just want to come home to you and don't scratch that maybe. Maybe I just need to put it in the bed. Maybe I just do that instead. So someone to shine.
I ask you about love, probably quote me a sonnet. But you've never looked at a woman and been totally vulnerable. You can't tell me what it feels like to wake up next to a woman and feel truly happy.
Someone really should just put him out of his misery.
Hello and welcome to the Holo Herald podcast, episode number 29? 29.
That's what it is.
Coming at you live, not just audio live, we are now video live on the podcast. We are streaming from our usual location at our usual time. We're a little bit later because we have a totally new format. I'd just like to say welcome if this is your guys' first time seeing us, which hopefully you guys have been watching our videos before this, but so you guys know who we are. But let's go ahead and, before we get into it, since this is our first video podcast, let's introduce ourselves, and then we can really talk about the whole video podcast and everything we've been working on. So let's go ahead and start this. First off, I'm Eric. I'm your host for this week's podcast, and I'm joined by two friends. You can only see one of them right now, but you'll be able to see a second one in just a moment. And we're going to start off with my not-so-good friend.
It's Austin here again with episode number 29 of the Holo Herald podcast, video edition. Great to be here. Hopefully we can have some good discussion. Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yep, and our remote friend, who's my good friend. Let's go ahead and tune into him all the way over in Cincinnati. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Paul.
Hello everyone, I'm Paul coming at you from Cincinnati. Yeah, so it's been a long time no see. I haven't been in a Holo Herald video for quite some time. I've been more behind the scenes, but now with these video podcasts, you'll be able to see my face every week, so sorry about that. But we have a very interesting podcast, and let's get into it, I guess. Or I guess we'll start with some pleasantries, of course.
Yes, for sure. We got a lot to cover from Holo Herald crap before we move into augmented reality crap. So, first off, let's go ahead and just introduce some of our angles. So, we actually have Caden on the mixer. You guys can't see him right now. He's behind the scenes. He's running everything. He's running our audio. He's running our video. He's a busy, busy man right now. So let's go ahead. I think we got... I don't know what view we're on. Let's go ahead and jump to the camera 2, which will be the Bison. We're right there. So, here we go. Bison camera. We got camera right here, and we got a camera over here. Cut to that. And then we have a camera for Paul. We can cut to that. Just to give some people some context of what's going on, where they're going to cut in and everything. We're probably going to introduce another camera next week. So let's go ahead and talk about setting up this video podcast and why we've done it and the process we've gone through to do it. So we've been wanting to do a video podcast since Caden introduced the idea to us. How many weeks ago has it now been?
Oh, it was like when he first came on the team. It was like
months ago now at this point.
Yeah.
It's like probably since episode 20 or 15, 20, right around that area. So it's been quite a few weeks since we've been wanting to do the video podcast, because we mainly release the podcast on YouTube right now, and it's a video platform. So it doesn't make sense to release an audio platform, and I think that's why we have been seeing a lot of views and a lot of people join the stream, because there's very few streams nowadays where it's only video. I mean, it's only audio, you know. Those get very few views. So we decided it was time to jump the video podcast, and boy, did we have to jump through a lot of hoops to make this happen.
Yeah, and I mean, we did it fairly cheaply too. Like
extremely cheaply.
A lot of people said just give up and go buy the expensive hardware, but we're like, no, we can do this.
We can do it on the cheap, because we're dirt poor here at the Holo Herald.
Yeah.
So, our first order of business was our microphones are only USB microphones. So I was like, okay, we need a mixer, because we're all going to have instead of recording audio separately and then collecting it later, or just recording it through Discord, we're going to have everybody's mics going at the same time. So it was a lot of stuff. And everybody's like, just give up, buy an XLR microphone and buy XLR mixer. And I was like, no way. So we did a bunch of software, a bunch of hacking, and only about, in total, to switch our entire setup to a studio setup, only took about $60, right?
Yeah, about $60.
In cables, mostly.
Amazon.com.
Oh yeah, Amazon Prime, just here in
every day.
Here in 2 days, and we got it running. And I mean, on Paul's end, I don't think anything's really had to change on your end, has it, Paul?
No, I just have to run Hangouts in the background now, which is fine. Yeah, I bought an Ethernet cord, but that was for other stuff, but it works for this as well, so we're good. I'm getting dual use on my Ethernet cords, of which I have like 5 now, so we're doing well.
It's weird to have a god mic, because we have earpieces right now, and it's really hard. It's weird to hear Paul's voice, because I'm looking at Austin and I hear Paul's voice, and it just comes in as God mode. But for like the viewer's perspective, they see Paul and it makes a lot of sense. But for us, it makes no sense whatsoever.
I mean, so bear with us. We might look stupid or be confused at what's going on, but just bear with us. This is the first time, so yeah. Hopefully we can get through this together.
Exactly. A couple caveats before we get into it. I should have said this originally. The audio is off right now. We're working on some syncing issues that we've run into with the software and the hardware and everything. And so the audio will look a little synced, but just bear with us for this one podcast. We're going to get it all fixed for the next one.
Hopefully this doesn't explode on me.
A little ASMR for people listening.
That's what I'm known for.
So, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, if there's any glitches or weird stuff, or if it's really low quality, let us know. We're all watching the chat still, even if it doesn't look like I'm watching it. Everybody else is watching it. We'll be answering comments live right here, just like the normal podcast, except for you guys can see us. So, I guess let's just jump right into it. Oh, I was going to say, do you think we need makeup?
Nah, not yet. We're not that cool yet.
Paul, do you think we need makeup?
I was going to have Kelly do my makeup, so I think we do.
Exactly, I was thinking about that too, because I got a haircut today specifically for this. So, dude, my hair was so bad. I had like, she cut off 4 inches, but I've been wearing a hat all lately, and so I haven't realized how like raggedy I was. But man, it was bad. So I got a haircut just for this, and I was thinking, wow, we should get like makeup on this and everything. I don't know. So yeah, I guess let's just jump into the podcast. Let's go ahead and start with the weekly news, which I don't know. I don't have a laptop. I don't have any gear, so you guys are gonna have to help me out.
Okay, first things off, it was a pretty dead week in the reality scene, I guess. but iOS 11 came out.
I think that's the biggest news, isn't
That's
it?
the biggest news. So. Paul, do you have any like details on iOS 11? I haven't really looked.
From what I've seen, the coolest thing about it is ARKit, but we can start off with all like the stuff that really kind of, I wouldn't say matters to us, you know?
Yes.
Like,
So I guess we could probably
let's see,
start out with saying that we're not Apple fanboys. Nobody here owns an iPhone. Nobody here probably owns a single Apple product. So this is just
I got an iPad Nano in my desk.
an iPad Nano,
Yeah.
an iPod
What is
Nano.
What?
What do you have?
An iPod Nano.
An iPod Nano. There's so many different
I thought you
devices.
said an iPad Nano. I was
An
like, what the
iPad
hell
Nano.
is that?
It's like an oxymoron. It's a huge
It's the
iPad Nano.
fake Chinese version.
So, so none of us are big Apple fans, which just bear with us for that. Let's just jump into it. Let's start with like the least important features added, and to obviously the most important one to us, ARKit. We'll get to that at the end. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, well, I guess like the least important is they made some tiny design changes. So like text is bolder and stuff like that. But the lock screen and I guess the control center were merged together. No, the control center, which is like, I don't know if you guys have ever used an Apple, but if you swipe up in the old iOS, you could control multiple things on your screen. It's kind of like swiping down when you're on Android to see your notifications and also being able to like lock your screen and stuff. I guess you can customize what controls are in that little control center now, and I guess that's pretty noteworthy because Apple's typically not a super customizable software, but that I guess is a nice feature. And then with their notification center, I guess it's all tied into the lock screen now. So if you just swipe down from your screen, you're automatically in your lock screen already. So there's no differentiation between the two. So you get the same notifications on your lock screen as you would get if you swiped down on your phone. So I guess that's a pretty cool feature. What do you? I guess that's not like the best, but it's just like the small things. But one noteworthy one that I saw was that Siri, they kind of revamped her. They gave her a more natural voice. I'm interested to hear what that's like, and I guess she's more intelligent. So she is going to start syncing information and learning more about the user to be more predictive of their behavior. And she can also now translate English into like Spanish, Chinese, and I guess she's working more in depth with Apple Music now. So they're kind of trying to compete a little bit with.
Can I? So on the topic of Siri, is Siri the type of AI that's like a self-learning one? So the more people use it, it learns from people, or is it more just like the programmers? I guess they probably use that data. But my point is, you have an Amazon Echo, right, Paul?
Correct.
And here at the office we have a Google Home, and at home I have a Google Home. Have you noticed Amazon Echo getting stupider lately? I don't need to do that, Austin. Have you noticed Amazon Echo, or what, Alexa, has she gotten stupider over time, or is she getting smarter over time?
I haven't really noticed a difference in her intelligence. I think it's kind of us getting smarter, or maybe us getting stupider, in the fact that we think it's more more capable of understanding us than we actually think it is. So like a lot of times when I have guests over, they try and talk to her, and they like just start playing random crap because they don't know what to say, or like, yeah, I don't know.
We're not
I ran into my
wowed by
first
it anymore.
I ran into my first major issue with Alexa the other day. I had some friends over, and one of them tried to order a product off of Amazon for me, and I was like, what the hell? Get off. No, stop. So I had to mute her and remove that privilege. But
That's hilarious. Is there like a certain amount, or we'll just order anything that you say?
I think if you turn it on, it will order everything that you say, but this was bringing up the stuff on my phone for me, like it was putting it into my cart for my confirmation. Thank goodness. But I think there are small things you can tell her to order. You can say like, order paper towels, and she'll order them.
That's hilarious. Have you bought one of the dots? Because I know you're a pretty big Amazon fan. Have you no, not the dot. What's the little buttons you can press on Amazon and then you can just like
Push
order?
buttons.
Is that there?
Oh,
Dash
the
buttons.
Yeah,
Dash
like
buttons.
the go buttons or something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't, because I don't have a product that I buy often enough to get it.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't go through toilet paper like it's going out of business.
And with Alexa,
maybe
I mean, it's
tissue
just
or
as
something.
easy, right? I don't know.
I'm sorry.
And with Alexa, it's like just as easy as the button, essentially. So, anyways, back to the topic that I was on is Siri. It's really weird to me that that Google feels like it's getting dumber, but that's a really great point. Maybe it's just me not being as wowed by it, or I'm used to it now, so it doesn't seem as intelligent. I want Google Home to get an update and Google Assistant because it's useful, but it's not extremely useful. Like, I don't find myself using my artificial intelligence besides just asking random questions as far as scheduling or anything goes. I don't really use it for that, so I hopefully Google will bring it up to par to compete with Siri. Anyways, what's some of the other features they've been launching?
It has a persistent dock at the bottom on the iPad now. So when you open up an app, you can have like that bottom bar of the iOS still show your favorite apps, so you can switch between stuff. So it would make it really easy for like multitasking, which I would think is a big feature that a lot of people want, especially if you have like that iPad Pro, which is like, how big is that thing? It's like the size of a laptop. It's like a huge slate. I forget how big it is, but they're huge.
The iPad Pro? Yeah, it's
they're
massive.
Massive.
Yeah, and then I guess they added a couple features for the Apple Pencil, like inline drawing on a lot of your apps, like Mail and stuff. So if you get an email, you can draw on it and stuff. So I guess that's useful.
Let me
For some
stop you
people,
there
it
for
wouldn't
a
be-
second.
Okay.
So, styluses. Let's just go over styluses for a second, because the Note 8, I think it is, the Note 7, the Note 8, just came out with a stylus as well, built into the phone. And Apple's been pushing their stylus more, especially with iOS 11 stuff like that. What are your guys' thoughts on styluses? In the comments, I'm curious. And to you two, I pose the question. I feel it's almost like regressing back. Like, I remember when I think of stylus, I think of the Palm Pilot days.
Yeah.
I don't think of the I don't think of a new touch iPhone or anything. I think of the old Palm Pilots with the grid screens, you know?
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts?
Totally, like, I feel like, I mean, I think it's Steve Jobs who always thought, like, the finger was the most natural way of using a piece of technology.
Yeah.
And I agree with that, and having a stylus just kind of, like, it just feels clunky and not as intuitive as your finger would be.
Exactly. What about you, Paul?
I tend to agree with that, but I also think styluses have their place in technology. I mean, with like drawing apps and things like that, it's really hard to use your finger to be really accurate. I think holding a pencil is supernatural. I mean, we've been doing it since we were in like kindergarten or whatever. So it's just a very natural thing. So if I had an iPad Pro, I would definitely like use the stylus, but I tend to agree with you guys that, like, yeah, it feels like regressing if you use it too much in the technology. But if it's just like on the side and they're like, hey, use it if you want it, but it works just as well without it, then that to me is cool. And if they give it good features, that's good.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. It has its place. Like on the DS, I just got a Nintendo DS, the 3DS, recently. It sounds like a 5-year-old thing to do, and it is. I'd say it's more of a 7-year-old thing to do. But okay, I own a 3DS, everybody. I'm coming out of the 3DS closet. But anyways, we hacked it. We put all the games on it, and even though it's got the stylus, and you're supposed to use the stylus for most stuff, I still find myself like reaching up now instinctually to just reach up and touch the touchscreen. I don't know. So
Maybe it's just a force of habit, though.
yeah, it probably is most traditional force of habit. It's probably definitely better to use the stylus. All right, Paul, hit me with the hit us with the rest of it. Wait, can we? Is there any comments or anything we need to go over?
Let me check. Tuck said he had a Note 4 for a while. He said he used the pen like maybe 5 times. So
Oh, really?
kind of just proof. But yeah, nothing new.
All right, Paul, hit us with some more stuff then.
They're coming out with a one-handed keyboard on the iPhone. So what this looks like to me is they move over the QWERTY to the right side, like they squish it on the right side, so you can easily type with one thumb. Now, I don't know about you guys, but do you guys struggle with typing with one thumb, even with a normal keyboard? Because I don't. Like on my phone, I can see this more being like a feature for maybe people with small hands, but it's definitely not I didn't think it was a common issue for people.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. The Galaxy S8 I got has like a windowed mode, not like a windowed mode, but it's got a one-handed mode. So if I triple tap the home button, the whole entire phone OS like shrinks to where I can reach the whole thing with one phone. It's a pretty big phone, and I have average sized hands, and I haven't used it once. I haven't found the need for it. It seems more of an inconvenience to triple tap the home button, bring in the one-handed mode, and then get out of one-handed mode rather than just stretch my hand or bring up my other hand. I have never used it actually, so
Yeah, I had an HTC. I can't remember what it was. It was a long time ago, and I tried the little like cut in half keyboard to help you. Yeah, it's kind of gimmicky. Well, it might not be for someone with small hands, like we said, but for me it was.
I think as long as it's seamless. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know the way
yeah.
that they have to bring it up, but if it like could sense that you only have one hand, that would be cool if it automatically did it just to adjust over. But if you have to go and click a whole entire separate button, or you have to enter a different mode, or click all these different buttons, I don't know. It just seems like it more gets out of the way. What's some other stuff?
Let me keep reading. I'm sorry. Oh, one of the big features that I thought was very notable is they now have person-to-person Apple Pay through the iMessage apps. So that is basically Venmo, but it works inside of iMessage. So what do you guys think about that? I know it's not going to be a major competitor to Venmo because only Apple customers can use it, and you need another Apple customer to use it. But do you guys think this is Apple coming in and being like, oh, we're going to try and take like Venmo out or Square out?
I think it definitely is, because that's a big business right now. Venmo is one of the biggest startups of 2017 and 2016. So it's a big business right now, instant money transfer. But I mean, they're kind of late to the game, to be honest. I mean, you've been able to transfer money through messages in Snapchat for like a year or two now at this point. Snapcash, which actually works really well and really easily. I would say easier than Venmo almost, is the fact that because in Snapcash, I've only used it twice, and that's because someone couldn't get Venmo or something. I can't remember why, but I used it, and you literally just type a number sign and then a $5 bill, and then it verifies that you want to send it over, and you literally just take a picture of your card, and it automatically adds your card, and then they just automatically add it to their account. It's super seamless, and it works super well. I would say almost it's faster and more seamless than Venmo, but with Venmo's tracking system and everything, Venmo is obviously a better option for transferring money. But I don't know. I think I would have preferred to see Venmo integration into iMessage.
Yeah, that would have been better, I think. But I do know that like the Apple people that use iPhones a lot, they love iMessenger. Like they swear by it. That's like the thing they brag about. Like, oh, you got an Android, you don't have iMessage. And so, like, maybe all the Apple users will just be able to easily integrate to this, and Venmo will be left in the dust. There's a lot of Apple users out there.
There is a lot, and I know
But there's
iMessage,
more Android users.
There is more Android users, that's correct, but Apple users are super stingy. Like, okay, so I guess this kind of
That's where our bias comes in.
Yeah, our bias comes in, and a little bit where a lot of my coworkers use iPhones, and that's their number one reason they won't switch to Galaxies is because of iMessage. And I don't know. I think iMessage should just convert to WhatsApp or convert to something else that's more ubiquitous so everybody can use, because it is frustrating. Group conversations is still one of the most lacking technologies right now through texting. I mean, it's never been good unless you're using iMessage, unless every single one of your friends has iMessage, which how often does that happen nowadays? You know, never. So I think that's one thing that really needs to be fixed with phones in general. And I don't think it ever will. I think we're going to see more third-party applications like WhatsApp and Slack and Google Hangouts and stuff filling that group chat niche, which is...
At Utah State, it's GroupMe.
GroupMe?
Everyone knows about GroupMe.
Really?
Yeah, just for projects and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it simple? What is it?
It's just like Slack, except kind of dumbed down.
Okay. Yeah, team integration chats is like the thing right now. Like you use Microsoft Teams now, don't you, Paul?
No, I don't. we have like a training seminar on it, but my manager was like, yeah, we're not going to use that because we all sit next to each other. So we're just going to turn around and say, hey, do you need this? Okay, you need this. Like, I could see it being useful for teams that are spread across the country, but like our team of 10 people, we all sit within like 5 steps of each other. So it's like, really, you're gonna IM me over that? And people use Skype more for individual messages. Like if my manager's like in a meeting, I can message her and be like, hey, this arrived, what do I do? Stuff like that.
I hate Skype Messenger. I hate Skype Messenger more than anything. When I started at my first...
Period.
Yeah, I hate Skype, period, but Skype Messenger is just terrible. Like, the downloaded app that you have to use, and it's such a heavy program. Why is Skype so freaking heavy is beyond me. It uses up so much processing power for what it does when it's just sitting there idly. And then when you start to run it, it uses a lot of processing power on your computer. Sure, it's probably by far the best video-to-video chat, but a lot of people are getting into that game now, like Discord and such. So we'll probably see a big change there.
Yeah, big announcement with Discord coming out with the voice call feature.
Do you have voice call yet, Paul, on your Discord? I mean, not voice call, video call.
No, I have not.
I got it.
Yet.
I know, you're one of the lucky,
I got
5%, right?
Yeah, I was one of the 5% that got it. I have no idea why my account is the one that got it. But, so you can still call other people with the Discord to video chat, but me and Austin just tried to call each other from right across the room, and it was just not having it. So it's definitely beta. It's a good thing they rolled it out to 5% of people.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, okay. What's some of the other features that they're rolling out?
I guess the App Store is getting changed around to fit into the new AR kit style. So they'll have 2 distinct sections, and instead of like scrolling up and down, it's going to be a continuous like landscape view type deal. Like you have to swipe to the left or right in order to find apps. And obviously they still have the search function, but that's going to be the general like tile format. So they're going to kind of revamp the App Store a little bit. So that'll be interesting. And I think if what I'm seeing in the future is that's a much more simple model to have in an AR space than, say, on your phone space. Like on your phone space, people might be like, why can I only see like 1 app at a time or 2 apps at a time? But if you're in like AR, it might make more sense than having to tap everywhere. You just like swipe your finger, you know? Obviously that's a major, like a future update, like it's kind of a groundwork kind of update, but I can definitely see its place in this new update, especially with the addition of ARKit, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yes, ARKit's definitely the finale of the whole thing, at least for us, in our opinion. That's exciting to see that the App Store, that was one of the biggest questions I had about ARKit, is how they were going to facilitate the apps in the app stores, and how much they were actually going to push it. Because if you see on Microsoft store for the HoloLens, it's really, really hard to find HoloLens apps and mixed reality apps, which is probably my biggest gripe about Windows and Microsoft right now, and the HoloLens in general, is it's just so hard to find new apps. So if anybody from corporate's listening, and we've already talked to corporate at Microsoft through some friends, please get that fixed. It is such a bummer to be able to try to find apps. And I know it's not because many devices support it, it's just the HoloLens, so it's hard to dedicate a whole bunch of time, but it's an emerging technology. I think it should be really facilitated. But that's really exciting that Apple is really pushing ARKit. That's really exciting. What's some of the other features, Paul? Let's brush through them real quick so we can get to ARKit.
One of the really cool ones is Apple Maps is getting a big update. So I guess they've invested in a lot of indoor mapping companies. And now they have maps of major, like, indoor areas, so like of the airport and things like that. So you can find exactly where you're going if you're in, like, a huge airport and you're like, oh, I want to go, like, find this fast food restaurant. You don't have to, like, go to an airport map. You can just go on your phone and it will direct you there. So I think that's useful. Like, that's something I could even see myself using.
You can totally see where they're going with the whole AR mindset with that. I mean, it's like, it's a natural progression to go from indoor mapping, which is really cool, to having virtual tours through that, or having like an ARKit arrow guide you to your terminal, at an airport or something. You can see them kind of building up. It's really intelligent the way Apple's doing it, actually, kind of building up this whole space around it before they actually jump into the heavy AR stuff. It's really exciting, and it's interesting. It's really interesting to me that Apple's the one pioneering a lot of this stuff, because honestly, the iPhone X or the iPhone 10 was a bit of a letdown for most people. So it's interesting to see iOS 11 picking up a little bit of this slack. Now, how much the consumers will actually use a lot of these features is a completely different question. But the fact that Apple is integrating it and they're excited about using it, that's what's really exciting.
I just really hope the developers take ARCore and really do cool stuff with it and make it the next technology that it needs to be.
Exactly. I mean, if the consumers are there for it, the developers will follow, because I think developers are probably the most excited people about it, and honestly, consumers don't even know it's really there. We'll get into ARKit. Is that basically everything, Paul, or is there still more? Because that's a pretty big release.
There's a lot. I'll just run through. The camera automatically scans QR codes now, so it does what it's supposed to when it looks at a QR code.
Thank God.
You can share your Wi-Fi password with people that you want it shared with. I don't understand. All right, and finally, ARKit. It's on. The API is going to be included in iOS 11. So that is incredible. So they're finally going to use all those sensors that are built into the new iPhone. So that'll be awesome.
So Tuck just asked the question.
Okay.
He said, can I get you folks to tell me why any consumer would care about ARKit?
Why any consumer would care about ARKit. Okay, well, I guess let's just jump into our ARKit discussion at this point. So here's my thoughts. I'm going to start with my spiel at the beginning of this. Tuck, I'm going to be in a really long, roundabout way to get to your question, which is how I normally do it. Like most times, and I'll probably lose track of myself halfway through. But anyways, so today, like I said, everybody I work with uses iPhones. I have no friends that use iPhones. I have nobody that uses Apple, but everybody I work with does. And I asked them, I was like, have any of you guys used iOS 11 yet? And a lot of them were like, yes, I've updated. I'm like, have you guys used any of the features? No. Granted, it came out today, so I don't expect anybody. But I asked people about ARKit, and very few of them even knew what ARKit was. They were like, what's ARKit? And I'm like, well, it's going to be new augmented reality apps, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And I talked to some of them. I was like, would you guys be interested in that? Is that something you guys would use? And they're like, I don't know, it might be fun for games and stuff. So
that's usually the answer for everything.
That is usually the answer for everything. So
Thanks.
No problem. It would be fun for games and stuff. So I think that's where it's going to start. I think to get people onto it, we're going to have to... anyways, Paul, have you heard anything about iOS 11 from anybody you fraternize with?
Just whenever I went to a networking event the other day, and usually I start with, I'm really into the HoloLens, of course, because no one else is, so it's a memorable thing. And the guy's like, ARKit. And I was like, well, yeah, kind of, but a little bit better. And he went on about how cool it is and how he's excited for it. So I met one person who was knew about it and was kind of excited for it, but he was kind of along the same lines, like games and stuff. And yeah, so not really a lot of people know about it.
Interesting. That's a really good point. And I think more people know about it than know about the HoloLens, probably, especially with the new press conference and everything. And if you listen to our podcast last week, we went into really in-depth about the iPhone 10 and the new sensors that they implemented and how we think that's going to push technology and push ARKit and all of those features. This week we're probably going to focus more on just specifically iOS 11 and ARKit and how it's going to shape the future. So if you guys are curious about the hardware side of things, like the new sensors that they're including and the new cameras that they're putting in, go ahead and listen to last week's podcast. That's where we really hit on that stuff. But so ARKit, like I said, nobody I know really knows about it. My thoughts on how I see ARKit fitting in is it's going to ease people into augmented reality. It's going to use it in their this is how I hope they use it, at least. So Tuck, to answer your question, I don't think consumers really need nor want it now. But also, consumers didn't need or want the iPhone 1. It just was given to them, and their lives were completely changed, and everybody's lives were completely changed. I think AR will do the same thing. I don't know if AR Kit will be the instigator or the inspiration for that, or what pushes that, but I think AR Kit will definitely play a big part in this. So I think what they're going to do, which I hope, what I've been gathering from their information, is they're going to roll out AR Kit kind of slowly. They've given it to developers, so they're going to have a lot of apps right there at the beginning. People are going to try it, and it's going to be gimmicky, I feel. People will feel it's gimmicky, and they won't feel like they'll use it. They'll play the games. Oh, that was fun. They'll download some of the utility apps, and then they'll never use the utility apps, so they'll disappear. And that's how I kind of see the Wave 1 of augmented reality happening. Now, Wave 2, which also kind of layers on top of Phase 1, is it creeping into your everyday life. So something like them adding indoor maps. Something that's kind of creeped into your everyday life is artificial intelligence. You'll notice if you have a Google phone or an Android phone, if you land at an airport, it will want to give you a map automatically of the airport you land in. Or if you're at a location, it'll automatically know where you are. And that's kind of creeped into your life, and you didn't really realize that it was there, but it's now taken a hold and been a part of your existence in your life. And I feel like that's what they're going to do with ARKit. They're going to be like, hey, there's this new feature. You have indoor maps now, Apple Maps on indoor use. And if you want to get to where you're going in Home Depot, go ahead and just use ARKit. And people are like, oh, that's cool. And they just hold up their phone and they're walking with it. They don't even realize that they're really using augmented reality to accomplish their task. And so it's going to slowly creep into their lives and in a utility way. And I think that's, or a little phase in a game, like there's a puzzle in a game that requires an ARKit part, you know. That's where I more see it fitting in and creeping into people's lives and really slowly overtaking it. And without even people realizing it. That's kind of how.
Is there any like examples of a technology doing this? What you're explaining?
With Google, or with an ARKit right now?
ARKit.
I think Snapchat has kind of done that a little bit, and I think Pokemon Go, like everybody was like, oh, it's augmented reality, but I don't think people realize, oh, I'm using augmented reality. Oh, I'm pointing my camera and there's a Pokemon that's not really there is there. It's kind of an example of using it in a fun way to get people on a new technology when they don't even realize they're using it. Face swap, you know? People don't realize they're using augmented reality when they're doing that. And I think that's the exciting part of it, is when it's exciting and useful and fun, and you don't even realize you're using it. It's just seamless. And I think the more AR comes in your face, and the more it's like AR, 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 the less consumers are going to come to it. Same with VR. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I would have to agree with everything you said. And to answer kind of Austin's question, another example is Home Depot has a really cool app that my mom kind of like got a hold of, and I was surprised to see her using it. But you can like pick paint, and it will paint your walls the color of that without actually having to paint your walls, so you can see kind of how the room would look with the different color walls, especially. So that's like useful for people who are looking to redecorate a room or something. So it is technologies like that are just like slowly creeping in. Like they're definitely non-invasive, they're not in your face, but you're like, whoa, this is useful. Like I don't have to go get paint swatches, I can just use this app and I get it. Obviously you're gonna have to swatch it eventually, but it gets you to the point where you don't have to go into the store yet and like interact with someone, but you can just do it at home and make the decision before you go to the store and have some stuff already picked out. And I think the more technologies that do that, like, hey, this is useful, or hey, this is fun, the better, because people will be like, all right, so I've had enough of that, what's next, you know?
No, I think you're exactly right. And we've been, here at the Holo Herald, we've been long-standing proponents of phone-based AR is not the future.
No, it's not.
Phones, period, are not the future. You know, handheld technology will always be there, but maybe in the way that we're using it is not the end goal. And definitely with AR, phone-based AR is not the way. And I think what we're going to start seeing, back to the hardware, them implementing AR sensor, like a Kinect-like sensor, an IR shooter into the front-facing camera, which I think is a little bit useless, but it'll probably integrate things into your everyday life that you don't even realize you're using that can be easily incorporated to augmented reality. And that's what's really exciting that we're seeing, because phone space is so tight. I mean, they shrunk the iPhone by so much. And look, Apple got rid of the headphone jack. And so if they don't think they need a headphone jack for consumers, why the heck do they think they need an IR shooter is my question. So it just shows that they're gearing up for something, and that they're committed to this. To put a little spot on your phone to have that is a big deal for them, especially at Apple. By far, especially with Apple. So I'm a little bit torn, because I think ARKit is great, but at the same time I think it's kind of, I just pray it doesn't hurt AR. I hope it's not like the handheld VR, you know what I mean? I have a lot better outlook on it now than I used to, because I've seen the quality of ARKit apps, and I've seen the quality of ARKit technologies. So I'm a lot less scared than I used to be, but I used to be terrified that phone-based AR would do to AR what phone-based VR did to VR, you know, kind of really killed it, to be honest, in my opinion. I think that's one of the biggest things that killed VR. But I'm not as scared anymore. I don't think so. And I think it'll be like a little bit, we'll see a big, like, oh, AR is so cool, everybody will be really fatted with it, and I hope that doesn't kill it, to be honest. And I don't think it will. I think AR is here to stay, especially when they're implementing hardware in phones. That's not something you can easily take back. And I think the progression, and how we're going to see the progression of things, is they're going to start adding more and more hardware to the phone to make it more AR capable, and milk the phone base and the phone idea and the phone concept for as much as it's worth and as long as they can. And then they're going to start switching to wearables, and it's going to be mixed with your phone, because they're going to want to keep those phone sales, and they're going to want to keep the phones and everything. And people are really addicted to their phones. Oh, yeah. You know, you're not going to get people to give up their phones. It's like asking people to give up their guns at this point. It's not going to happen. So you have to really slowly wean them off of it with adding peripheral technologies, and then eventually we can just kind of, like a kid, like when you're weaning a kid off a binky, you know, you give them other things to give, or if they're sucking on their thumb, you give them other things to distract them, and then one day you just put hot sauce on their finger or whatever to get rid of their finger, or whatever you have to do. We got to wean them off of it, wean off consumers, and I think that's the process.
Just cut off their finger.
Just cut off their finger.
Just break their phone.
And just turn them all off, discontinue their phones. Yeah. And we'll see a lot of technologies like HoloLens mixed with your phone, like you use a phone as a pointer, or you use a phone as your swapper or control. I don't know. I think that's the progression. And this progression could span everywhere from 3 years to a decade. I have no idea this progression speed. And that's what I'm really curious about with ARKit. It kind of jumped in our faces. Like last year, ARKit was not even a thing. Was not even an idea, and now we're already having it on iOS 11 in our hands.
Came quick.
Yeah, it came really quick, and that's how fast the progression is happening. And we talked about podcasts a lot. We talked in podcasts a long time ago about how progression can really help and really hinder technology. Do you think AR coming really fast? Do you think AR should shoot for the long game? They should just get in people's faces now and show them that there's this awesome technology and get people switched off. Get them wowed, and while they're wowed, get them switched off their old technologies and get them switched onto AR. Or do you think they should play the long game, where they kind of start implementing features slowly here, but then that leaves the possibility for something like an economy crash to happen, or a tech bubble to pop, or, you know, there's risks in both of them. What do you think is the game that AR should play right now? Not ARKit, just AR as a whole, as a community. What do you guys think?
I definitely have to say that AR should take kind of this quick route almost, because it's got to make itself interesting enough that people are going to keep their eye on it, but not like so interesting that it's in their face, like, oh, you got to try this kind of stuff, you know? It's got to be, they just got to keep it interesting enough. So quick progression, but not too quick. So that's kind of like a non-answer, but hey, it's an answer.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair answer, because it's a really open-ended question. I propose this to our viewers as well, if you guys are listening. I'm really curious to what you guys think AR's approach should be. What do you think, Oscar?
I guess if magically comes out, they're doomed, but other than that, I think the course that they're going with this quick pace, like Paul said, is pretty cool. It's pretty exciting, like what they're actually doing, and I can't wait to be able to just have like what we've been talking about come true, where it's like use it every day.
Exactly, because we think it's here to stay.
Yeah.
I know it's here to stay, unless there's an unforeseen circumstance like a tech bubble or an economy collapse or something like that. I definitely think AR is here to stay.
Definitely.
But I don't know. So I'm just interested. I'm interested to see what it takes, because I think that's one of the major things that killed VR, and I'm interested about it. So with ARKit specifically, though, iPhone users are pretty receptive to change. That's one thing we've noticed. Like I thought people would hate the iPhone jack. I thought people would hate the $1,000 iPhone, but people still buy it, and people still use all their products they put out. You know, if Apple puts it on there, chances are they don't put it on there for no reason. People are going to be using it, or people are going to change. The lightning jack, you know, they could just create their own proprietary plug that cost a ton of money compared to other cables, and get rid of stuff that costs more, and Apple users just take it. So and once Apple users take it, everybody else kind of takes it. So it's a great leader to start with it. Do we have any comments or anything?
Nope, not really.
Oh, no. I haven't seen anything. How long have we been going? In the OBS, it says like down in the bottom left corner. What does it say? 45 minutes? Alright, we'll probably go like 10 minutes. So is that all the major announcements of iOS 11, Paul?
Yeah, that I can kind of glean from this article. Seems like that's about it. There's a couple, like, there's this HomeKit. So that means developers can start creating and testing products before bringing them to market. And so Apple, to kind of give a background on this, I read about this a little while ago. So Apple, with their like Internet of Things technologies, they typically have a very stringent process for a developer to go through, and that's why you don't see a lot of things that tie into like the AirPlay. I don't know if you guys know what that is. That's like the in-home Apple like network thing that you can like play your speakers off of. It was kind of like the Echo before the Echo, and they've had it around for a while. Like I know my parents bought into it, and then they didn't. Like they just got rid of it because it wasn't there. But I think Apple now, with this new update, is allowing developers to build their own devices to work with this and test them themselves. So they're giving a little more freedom to the developing community. So I think that's a really good sign in the fact that Apple's going to be give a little more freedom to the developers, kind of similar to what Android does, where, well, I guess Android gives like the utmost of freedom, but Apple's moving in that direction to more freedom with
That's exciting.
technologies.
So, Tuck, he just asked, what about AR Core? What does it play in this?
Oh, that's a great question. I guess we could go off that. AR Core, I think it's not released yet, from what I understand. I signed up for the newsletters and the announcement program, and I have a Galaxy S8, and I have not seen any. I haven't received any emails, or at least I haven't noticed any emails, and I haven't received any updates on my phone. So as far as I can tell, AR Core, is not quite there. It doesn't exist yet, and I haven't seen much technology videos of it. I'm going to guess it's going to function the exact same way as ARKit, and they're going to be the same thing, and I don't know. I don't know if Apple users will be more responsive to ARKit, or Android users will be more responsive to AR Core. I have no idea the outcome of that. I think it all kind of serves the same purpose, though. I don't know. Well, the thing is, though, there's a lot more wide range of Android devices than there are iPhone devices. So I wonder if it'll come out to every single one.
Is there a list of compatibility of devices with AR Core? I mean, AR.
Yeah, AR Core. Yes, there is. If someone could pull that up real quick, I'm going to guess it's the Note 8, the Galaxy S8, and maybe the S7. I think it's pretty new. I mean, we pulled up the iOS 11 compatibility chart, and there's quite a few devices. Some of the devices go back 3 or 4 years. So good luck to everybody that just updated.
So the compatible devices is the Google Pixel and the Pixel XL, the Samsung Galaxy S8, and that's it.
Not even the Note?
No.
That's surprising. Okay.
This is from the Google developers.
Yeah, I trust it. Interesting. I would have definitely thought the Note was. So even some of the popular new Android phones don't even support it. So I guess maybe they're just rolling it out to those now. Especially with the new Google Pixel come out, I bet AR Core will be a flagship of the new Google Pixel because that's slated like next month. Is it next month, Paul? Does the new Pixel come out?
I have no clue. Actually, I wasn't paying attention to that at all. I'm pretty happy with my smartphone right now, so I wasn't looking to buy a new one.
know
I
you
wasn't
are.
really paying attention.
No, yeah, I just saw the trailer, like a release trailer. It looked funny. It was just like a G, and then it was like coming soon. And I was like, oh, nice.
Google's been doing that with their really short ads.
I like it.
Yeah, me too.
It's
Gets
like
the message across.
it's like we're gonna buy it anyway. You don't need to sell it to us. Exactly. If the people are gonna buy it, they're gonna buy it. So I don't know. I'm just curious about phone-based AR and how it's going to play out. Like, because the biggest thing is consumers. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much developers like it. It doesn't matter how much tech evangelists like it. At the end of the day, all that matters is if consumers like it. And that's the $1 million, multi-billion-dollar AR is supposed to be like a $15-20 billion industry or something insane like that. And I don't know the number off my head. If Paul you could look it up real quick, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
And so I'm pumped to see what it is. One thing I'm curious about is do we have any other news? Did we by chance have any Magic Leap drama?
Did we talk about when they're asking for more money last week?
Oh no, I don't think we did.
Yeah, we didn't cover that.
We didn't cover that. So
Eric, wait,
ahead.
it's $108 billion. It's going to become $108 billion.
Woo! Can we compare that to something? What's something like the what's another industry that's pretty? Let's compare it to the VR industry. VR is a good industry.
They lump it together. AR, VR, they lump it together.
Oh, that's kind of weird. So I would assume AR has a bigger market cap, or will have a bigger market cap than VR very soon, if not already. What was it? I hate remembering numbers off the top of my head, but I think they're asking for $100 million in more funding. Is that correct? Magic Leap?
Let me...
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Maybe one of our viewers knows.
Hopefully they do, and they can post it real quick, or Paul, or you can look it up. My Chromebook's dead, and I don't have it.
Oh.
And I feel inept without it.
And everything's dying on my laptop. So let's see if this link opens. Then it's, woo.
They're asking for
We're cooking.
500 million.
500 million?
Okay. So $500 million.
Which will bring them to a total of
6 billion.
6 billion? Wow.
Wow.
$6 billion. That's insane. Man, I want to try that product. I want to try Magic Leap so bad.
Yeah. If it's a $6 billion.
A $6 billion product. I mean, just think about it. I mean, Amazon has just barely become profitable a few years ago. Netflix is still not profitable. Imagine if those companies would have started out with a $7 billion in funding, how long it's going to take them till they're quote-unquote profitable. I mean, it's got to take the world by storm.
It's gonna it better interrupt all technology if it's...
Seriously, I think this is what Paul was saying. The come at you fast and get you on there, and it's really cool and it works, and it's not like super in your face, but it's like, oh, you need to have it like the next thing. Maybe Magic Leap's the one to do that, because so far HoloLens hasn't been trying to push that angle, and Meta has not. Meta kind of flopped a little bit. I haven't heard anything about Meta since it came out.
My problem is they put $6 billion into this company, and they're so secretive that nobody knows about them.
Exactly.
Well, guys, I think you missed some big news in this article. In 6 months' time, they're going to ship devices to a small group of users, costing between $1,500 and $2,000. Now that's news.
That is big news. So let's post this in the chat so other people can know what we're talking about. One of you guys, if you could.
I got it.
So say that one more time for me. I didn't hear it quite all the way, and so our viewers can hear.
Okay. So Magic Leap expects to ship devices to a small group of users in 6 months' time, and that device could likely end up costing between $1,500 and $2,000.
I don't know if you dropped out. Anyways.
Oh. Can you hear me now?
Yep,
Yes, we got you there.
Okay. In
So,
6
like
months' time, they're
1,500.
going to ship a device, all group of users, probably developers, that cost between $1,500 and $2,000.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So I wonder what small group means. I'm really excited about that. I think, to me, that's really exciting that they're going to be shipping a device. First off, that's crazy.
That's amazing.
Second off, small group of users. That's an interesting terminology. You know, they're not specifying who they're going to send it to or where they're sending it or anything like that. I don't know if it's going to be just US based, because HoloLens was just US based for the longest time. I wonder if they're going to be sending this to people like Zach Galifianakis or LeBron James, or if they're going to be sending this to people like Sean Ong or the Holo Herald or probably, definitely not us, but big tech companies like ARS Technica or Wired or those kind of companies. I'm really curious as to who's going to be the devicing, and I wonder how much they're going to be able to talk about it. That'll be interesting too. But I guess we have 6 months to wait. I bet they got to dump some more news, and someone will be leaked. If they're handing out devices, stuff's going to get leaked because people want to hear about that so bad.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this funding, do they specify, Paul, in the article what the funding is for specifically? Is it to help them push them over that hump to get there and deliver it, or what's it for?
They do not specify the matter of the funding.
I want to hit on Austin's topic real quick that he mentioned. You're right, it is a $6 billion startup, soon to be a $6 billion startup, with no product for 6 months, for the next 6 months. They've been around since like 2013, I think. So they're about a 5-year-old company with no product that raised $6 billion. Pretty big news in the underground tech community, but I wonder if how many people you went to would actually know about it. Or know what it is. Like, if you went up to random people and you started, hey, are you excited for Magic Leap? I bet if you asked 100 random people walking into Walmart or wherever, or even Best Buy, we'll do Best Buy, it's even a tech-oriented place, but we all know tech-oriented people don't go there. If you asked 100 people that are walking to Best Buy, maybe 3 of them would know what Magic Leap is.
Maybe. Like, anyone I've talked to, I'm like, yeah, Magic Leap. And they're like, what? What's that?
Exactly. Is that a fair estimate, do you think, Paul?
Oh, definitely. I don't think it's such a small portion of the country that knows about Magic Leap. And I think even like all the celebrities who like tweeted about and stuff, their followers are probably just like, what?
Yeah.
Or don't even care, just glance right over it.
Oh, try it out.
I mean, we see how non-tech people are. If you start talking tech talk, they literally just zone out. It's like, my brain doesn't want to take that information. So if it's something like a maybe, like something like Magic Leap that's like this smoke and mirrors right now to the public at least, they're not going to care about it. If it's not an actual product that they can touch, that they can hold, that they can see, that they can watch videos of, no one's going to care about it.
Right.
No one's going to take the time to do the research. Nobody's going to do that. So I'm really interested about their marketing campaign, what they're going to take leading up to this. I wonder if they're going to be doing Super Bowl ads and TV ads and Netflix ads and Hulu ads and all these different types of ads, or if they're just going to be quiet and just be like, here's a product.
I bet we might see a storm of Magic Leap ads.
I would not be surprised if we did. If it was just one day there's no Magic Leap info, and the next day there's a ton of Magic Leap
And then
info.
there's like huge hype about it.
Maybe huge hype, I hope, or maybe, I know at least in the tech community we've been waiting for such a long time that we don't even know about it. I mean, we've been waiting for such a long time that it's a joke. It's an ongoing joke in the tech community about Magic Leap. Not that Magic Leap is a joke, but a Magic Leap product coming out, a Magic Leap headset coming out is a joke. But I mean, to everybody else, they haven't even heard of it. So I don't know. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say many more people know about the HoloLens than about the Magic Leap. I'm
That's
going to
true.
assume if you know about HoloLens, you probably know about Magic Leap, though.
Yeah. Only time will tell, I guess.
Only time will tell.
Like most things.
Well, I guess it's about that time of night. Is that it, Paul? Is that everything?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, I guess it's about that time of night where we can start wrapping up. If Caden wants to drop me a little SoundCloud music that's nice and quiet while I give the outro for me for a second. Behind me? I don't know if it's going to happen, so I'm just going to start giving the intro.
Outro.
Outro. I'm going to start giving the outro. That'd be terrible. Welcome to the Holo Herald podcast, an hour and a half into it. Well, any closing words, boys?
Well, thank you all for tuning in on to our first live video
Still
stream.
do the camera on us. Just do the SoundCloud on us, though.
Oh,
There we go. We're still working out the kinks. We'll get this down.
sorry about that. Yeah, thanks you for all of you for joining in on our first live video stream. Sorry for any technical difficulties or stress that we may have caused you, but I guarantee you it was more stressful for me. So.
Yes, definitely. Late nights were had for a couple nights in a row.
Yeah.
And Austin, if you could look at the chat real quick and see if there's any closing things. Well, Paul, go ahead and give your closing words.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone showing up for the first inaugural video Holo Herald podcast, as I did say first inaugural in the first ever Holo Herald podcast. So it's the first video podcast, so first inaugural. So thanks for showing up. I hope you all enjoyed. And yeah, thanks. We appreciate you.
Alright, well I guess it's that time of the night where we start to begin to close out the Holo Herald podcast. Episode number 29 is coming to a close. I would just like to say thank you to everybody that joined us for our first video podcast. We didn't give that much of a heads up, we just kind of dropped it. Hopefully you guys can go out, if you guys are here at the live stream now, and let your friends know that it's now a video podcast, and maybe that'll keep them a little bit more entertained. We can have a little bit more interaction with everybody. And right as my vibrator goes, not my vibrator. This is turned into a mess. This is turning. It's all collapsing right here at the end. We're gonna have cables falling out. Never mind.
Just cut it.
No, we're not gonna cut it. We're not gonna cut it. I'm almost there.
Cut it.
If you guys are listening to the VOD, and you guys, whatever. Thank you for joining us to the video podcast. If you guys are listening to the pre-recorded version, leave comments down below about what you guys thought. And that was episode 29, the video podcast. We'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.
Take it easy, guys.
See ya.